It is the night of August 4th, 1962. Los Angeles, California, a warm summer night. At 12305 5th Helena Drive in Brentwood, a phone rings and then goes silent. By the time the sun rises, the most famous woman in the world is dead. Her name is Marilyn Monroe. She is 36 years old. She is found lying face down on her bed. Her hand is still reaching toward the telephone. The official cause of death: acute barbiturate poisoning. In other words, a sleeping pill overdose. Ruled probable suicide. Case closed, except almost nothing about that night adds up. The official story was straightforward. Marilyn Monroe had struggled with depression for years. She had a history of pill dependency. On the night of August 4th, she took too many barbiturates and never woke up. Her housekeeper, Eunice Murray, found her at around midnight. She called Monroe's psychiatrist, Dr. Ralph Greenson. Greenson arrived, broke a window to enter the locked bedroom, and found Monroe dead. The police were called at 4:25 in the morning. The Los Angeles coroner ruled her death a probable suicide. No foul play suspected. No further investigation required. It was a tragedy, they said, but a simple one, except the timeline doesn't work. Eunice Murray later changed her story multiple times. She first said she found Monroe at midnight. Then she said it was 3 in the morning. Then, in a 1985 interview, she finally admitted that Robert F. Kennedy had been at the house that night, and that she had been told to keep quiet. But the timeline was not the only problem. The physical evidence had serious inconsistencies. Marilyn Monroe was found with enough barbiturates in her system to kill several people. But there was no glass of water found near her bed. No glass anywhere in the room. How does someone swallow that many pills without water? Then there is the autopsy. The coroner, Thomas Noguchi, noted something unusual. The barbiturates were found in her bloodstream and liver, but not in her stomach. If she had swallowed the pills, they would have been in her stomach. They were not. This suggests the drugs entered her body a different way. Not orally. The FBI had been monitoring Marilyn Monroe for years. J. Edgar Hoover personally kept a file on her. Her relationship with John F. Kennedy was documented. Her relationship with Robert F. Kennedy was documented. And a third file existed. One that has never been fully released. A file that reportedly contained recordings made inside her home. Robert F. Kennedy was not just Marilyn Monroe's secret. He was the Attorney General of the United States. And according to multiple witnesses, he was at her home on the night she died. At least 3 people placed him in Los Angeles that day. Kennedy's official schedule showed him elsewhere. But witnesses, including a police officer and a private investigator, contradicted that. Peter Lawford, Monroe's friend and Kennedy's brother-in-law, was one of the last people to speak to her. He later told friends she called him that night, sounding confused and drowsy. He said she told him to say goodbye to the president. Lawford claimed he tried to call back but got no answer. He did not call the police. He waited hours before anyone was notified. Marilyn Monroe had also been keeping a diary, a red leather diary. Friends said she recorded conversations with both Kennedy brothers in it. Sensitive conversations about government secrets. After her death, the diary was never found. Nobody knows where it went. It was there before she died, and then it was gone. So if Marilyn Monroe did not kill herself, who is responsible? 3 theories have persisted for over 60 years. The first points to Robert F. Kennedy. Monroe had reportedly told friends she expected RFK to leave his wife and marry her. Kennedy had ended the relationship weeks before her death. She was devastated. And she was talking. RFK knew what she knew. And what she knew could end his political career. The second theory involves the CIA. Monroe had been under FBI and CIA surveillance for years. Her relationships with the Kennedy brothers gave her access to classified information. Information she may not have fully understood the danger of. Several researchers have pointed to a CIA operative named Robert Maheu. Maheu had connections to both the agency and organized crime. And to Jack Ruby, the same Jack Ruby who silenced Lee Harvey Oswald. The third theory is the simplest, that Monroe's death was staged to look like a suicide by people who needed her silence permanently. and who had both the means and the motive to achieve it. None of these theories have been proven, but none of them have been disproven either. What makes Marilyn Monroe's case so frustrating is not just what happened. It is what disappeared afterward. The red diary was never found. Monroe's telephone records from the night of August 4th were subpoenaed and then went missing from the Los Angeles Police Department. A private ambulance company claimed they transported Monroe while she was still alive. She died en route, they said, not at home. If true, the entire crime scene was fabricated. The Los Angeles Police Department conducted its own review in 1982. They concluded there was no evidence of foul play, but they also admitted key evidence had been lost or destroyed. The FBI has never fully declassified its file on Marilyn Monroe. Portions remain redacted to this day. In a case ruled suicide in 1962, what is still so sensitive 60 years later? The answer may lie in who had the most to lose, not just from her death, but from what she knew while she was alive. Marilyn Monroe was not just a movie star. She was one of the most surveilled private citizens in American history, monitored by the FBI, connected to the most powerful men in the world, and dead at 36 under circumstances that have never been fully explained. The official verdict was probable suicide, not definite. Probable. Even the coroner was not certain. What we know is this: the timeline was contradicted by the key witness. The physical evidence did not support an oral overdose. Her diary vanished. Her phone records vanished. And the people who knew the most said the least. History is rarely as clean as the official reports suggest. And sometimes the most powerful people in the world make sure it stays that way. This has been Beyond the Textbook, where history goes deeper than what you were taught. If this changed the way you see the world, share it with someone who needs to hear it.